Duty to the clan was the first law of the wild. As a wolf, it was second nature for me to follow these laws, and I tried to do so, but I had been separated from the pack. I felt alone and afraid, and I didn't want to return to the place that had so nearly killed me. I am a wolf. I can find my own way, I said. But the fire. I won't die in a fire. Besides, you've lost your fire. That's what you're really worried about. If it were just me, I'd be happy to come with you. But I don't like you, and I won't be coming. Then I'll stay here. Why, so you can kill me? I spat out. The bear didn't respond, but he also didn't look away. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. My ears were suddenly alert. I knew he was about to do something, and I had no intention of being around when that happened. I spun around and ran as fast as I could through the dark forest, ignoring the sharp twigs that cut into my pads and the stinging nettles that clung to me. My eyes burned as if there were smoke in them. I couldn't see anything except the trees and rocks, but I didn't need to see. I could feel them. My muscles tensed as I raced up a hill, leaping over the rocks, my feet landing on top of them and pushing me forward. My breath burned in my throat. I pushed harder, my paws scrambling across the rocks. It was slick and covered in pine needles. My body thrummed as I ran up the steep slope. My heart raced as fast as my legs. I needed to reach the top, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. The forest suddenly ended. A huge rock face loomed in front of me. It was black and rough, and its sharp edges made my skin prickle. It rose into the air like a giant wall. There was no other way forward. I knew what lay at the top of that wall. The wolves were waiting there. It was their territory, and they had chased me out of it. But I would not be chased back into it. I would go over the top. I burst into a run, my legs flying over the ground. My body was moving in an unnatural way, as if I were floating instead of running. The air whistled in my ears as I barreled toward the rock wall. I knew the wolves were there. They had come to challenge me, but they wouldn't be able to stop me. Not now. I pushed harder, my heart thumping against my ribs. A shadow appeared in front of me. It moved closer, and then two more shadows appeared. I tried to focus on them, but I couldn't. My eyes were still burning, and I couldn't see anything clearly. And the shadows were gone. I didn't have time to react. Something crashed into my side and knocked me off course. I tumbled down the hill. My body hit one rock after another. Each impact sent jolts of pain up my side and leg. My vision blurred. Then I stopped falling and just lay there, panting. A gray sheep appeared above me. It was a wolf. He was looking down at me with a smug look on his face. I think we both know who the victor is, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. And now we have a new pack leader. I wanted to swipe him off the rock face with my claws, but I couldn't move. He lowered his head to sniff me, and then his muzzle was shoved against mine. His fur tickled my nose. I growled and snapped my teeth at him, but he just laughed and pushed his snout against me again. He turned away and sauntered down the hill, his tail swinging behind him. I rolled onto my back and pulled myself up to standing position. My head swam and my body shook. I wasn't sure what had just happened, but I knew I didn't want to be on this mountain anymore. I knew that if I stayed here, I was going to die. And I was not ready for that. I looked around to see if there was anything else on this hill that might be worth surviving. Then I saw the path that led up to the top. It was narrow and jagged, with sharp rocks that cut my pads. The wind whistled through the cracks in the rock wall, sending shards of dirt in my direction. But there was nothing else I could do. I climbed up the steep slope until the rocks gave way to grass and then dirt. The ground leveled out as I approached the top. My legs ached with every step, but I kept climbing until my paws found the ground that led to the top of the cliff. My heart beat fast, and my breath came in ragged gasps as I stood on the edge of the cliff. The sky was bright blue, the sun just beginning to rise over the trees on the other side of the valley. There was a strong breeze coming in off the ocean, carrying the scent of salt water and the scent of home. The valley stretched out before me, and my heart sank when I saw that the wolves had claimed it as their own. But at least now I knew how to survive in this land, even without a pack. It was a hard life, but it would be mine alone, and I would make it work. I looked around to get my bearings and saw the small creek that led into the valley. The wolves would never know how to cross it or find their way down into the valley. It was a perfect place for an animal like me. I smiled at the thought of finding my own den and making it my own home. Then I realized that there were more wolves down there than I had expected, and they all looked familiar to me. One of them was standing on the top of the cliff beside me, watching me with a look of amusement on his face. He had a thin frame with dark fur, like most wolves, but he had a darker stripe down his back. He was slightly shorter than the other wolves, and his ears were slightly bigger than theirs as well. His fur was black and long, with a white patch over his eye that made it stand out even more. There was a scar on his face. The same scar I'd seen on his chest when I'd fought him in the battle. I was sure he had done it to himself, but it was also the same scar that he'd given to the bear as a sign of their new alliance. I remembered how much he'd looked like the bear as he'd stood next to him in the cave, but now he looked more like the other wolves in the group, tall and strong, with dark brown fur that gleamed in the sun. "This is where you belong," he said. I didn't know what he meant by that, so I said nothing back. Instead, I took a deep breath of the fresh air that was blowing in off the ocean and turned back toward home.